Hi, welcome to the GL setup video, and this is Saurabh. In the previous video, we had created the chart of account for our hypothetical company Vision Web Tutor Corporation. Now, we will continue the same setup and we will create the next entity which is important in the ledger after the COA, and the name of the entity is calendar. Okay. Now, there are two types of calendar which we may create in GL. One is my accounting calendar and second is my transaction calendar. Okay. Now, the creation of transaction calendar is only mandatory for those organization which needs to do some statutory reporting like their daily average balances and all. Okay. So this setup is not a mandatory setup in GL and it needs to be done only if the organization requires that sort of a setup, which is the setup of the transaction calendar. Okay, and the second type of calendar, which is actually a mandatory setup in GL, which needs to be done by every company, is the accounting calendar. Okay, so in this setup video, we are going to create an accounting calendar for our hypothetical company Vision Web Tutor Corporation. So before we create our accounting calendar, we need to create something called as a period type. Okay, now let us see the navigation of creating a period type. So the navigation is in the general ledger super responsibility. We need to go to setup, financials, calendar, and calendar types. Okay, so since this is a Vision instance, if I just do Control F11, then I will be able to see the calendar types or the period types which are already created in this instance. Okay, so let me create a new period type for my setup and let me give the name as VWT period. VWT is the short form for Vision Web Tutorial. And then after giving the period name, I need to give the number of periods per year. So in all the companies, the financial reporting is normally done month wise. So we at least or usually we need to give the number of periods as 12. Okay, but it can be more than 12 or less than 12 also, depending on the requirement of the company. Like if at all the company wants to do some sort of quarterly reporting or it wants to do some sort of half yearly reporting, then the number of periods may be 4 or 2. Okay, now in the general ledger calendar, we have the provision of creation of adjustment periods. Okay, now what are adjustment periods? Adjustment periods are those special periods which can be used to enter any sort of month-end adjustment information by the company. Now, the benefit of using this adjustment period is this adjustment period is only available for data entry in the GL module. Okay, so if at all we have got some modules like accounts payable and accounts receivable, wherein we enter the day-to-day payables and the receivable transactions, then these accounting adjustment periods will not be available for entry to those modules. Okay, so if at all we are finalizing our financial statements at the end of every month or at the end of every quarter, and we will like to pass some adjustment entries like maybe some sort of provisional expense booking entries, right? Then what we can do is we can open those adjustment periods, and those open adjustment periods will only be available for transaction to the general ledger module. So somebody from the accounts payable or the accounts receivable department, they may not be able to do the entry at the month end because the regular calendar period will be closed. But somebody from the general ledger department, if at all they want to pass some sort of month-end adjustment entry, they will be able to pass that entry in the adjustment period. Okay, so usually this this is one of the questions which we ask the client during the as-is discussion of the general ledger module, like how many adjustment periods would you like to set up in your accounting calendar. Okay, now let us say that in this hypothetical company the requirement was to have quarterly adjustment period. Okay, so this would mean that in a calendar year 4 adjustment periods should be there, right? And let us also assume that this company wants to do monthly reporting. Okay, so that means that in the calendar of this company there will be 16 periods, 12 monthly periods for doing the regular day-to-day transaction, and 4 adjustment period for doing the adjustment entries. So let me give the period type as, or rather the number of period per year as 16, and let me make the year type as fiscal, right? And let me write some description also. And let me save this, right? So we have created our period VWT period, right? So now let me make the description more descriptive, like this is 12 fiscal months plus 4 adjustment period. So now that we have created the adjustment or rather the period type, let us go and create the accounting calendar. So the navigation to do that is setup financials, calendar and accounting. In fact, the form to create the accounting calendar lies right beneath the period type form. So we can see that this is a master child layout form. So let me create the calendar, something like VWT calendar. And the description is Vision Web Tutorial Accounting Calendar. Then let me save the header level information, and then let me go and create the individual periods at the line level. So let me give some prefix. I'm going to create the calendar for 1 year, which is for the current year, which will start from Jan 2014 and which will end in December 2014. So let me give the prefix as Jan 1414. Let me give the type as VWT period, which we had created. Now every period needs to be given an year and a quarter. So in this case, let me give the year as 2014, and since we are creating the first period of 2014, January 2014, the quarter number will be 1, period number will also be 1, and let me give the date as 1st Jan 2014 to 31st Jan 2014. Okay, so we can see that the period name is automatically defaulted by the system, and it is defaulted based on the prefix and the year. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me change the prefix to Jan 14. So we can see that now the period name is coming as Jan 1414, right? So let me save this first period. So let me create the other periods also on the similar line. So next will be Feb 14, period type will be same as for the last record, VWT period. Year will be 2014. Quarter will remain as 1 because this is still the first quarter, and the period number will change to 2, right? This will be from 1st Feb to 28th Feb 2014. And then let me create the next month, March. Year will be again 2014. Quarter will remain as 1 and the period number will be 3. And then let me give the date ranges, 1st March to 31st March 2014. And then since I told you that we are going to have 4 adjustment period in this calendar, and the adjustment period is going to be quarterly, hence since we have created all the 3 months for the first quarter, we need to give we need to now create the adjustment period also. So let me create the adjustment period. So let me give the prefix as adjustment Q1. Period type will be this. Quarter will remain as 1 and the number will be 4. And usually we only keep the last day of the quarter as the adjustment period duration. So in this case the last day of the quarter is 31st March. So the date ranges will be from 31st March to 31st March 2014, right? So we are getting this message because we have created we have tried creating an adjustment period, but we have not checked this checkbox adjusting. Hence system is not able to understand that this period is an adjustment period, and hence since there is an inbuilt validation in this form that 2 periods cannot have overlapping periods, hence system is thinking that the period of this adjustment Q1 is overlapping with March 14. So let me make this as an adjustment period and then let me try saving it. So we can see that the system is now allowing us to save the data. So now let us do one thing. Let us try to exit the process of creation of the calendar. And now if you will notice, then this calendar which we have created is going to be an invalid calendar, because in the setup of this VWT period we had mentioned that this period will comprise, or rather this calendar year will comprise of 16 periods, but we have only created 4 periods. So let me try closing this form. So we can see that as soon as we try to close this form, system is trying to launch a request which wants to validate the calendar. So it is giving us an option whether we want to validate only the calendar which is currently being displayed, which is the VWT calendar, or we want to validate all the calendars. So let me only validate the VWT calendar. So I'll say current. So system has launched a validation request and it has also shown us the ID of that request. Now let me go and monitor that request so that if at all the request throws us any validation error, we will be able to see it. So we can see that the request has ended in warning. Now let us see why the request ended in warning. So we can see the different sort of validation which the system is doing, whether the period has any date gaps or not, whether the periods are overlapping or not. Okay, so we can see that the system is clearly throwing us a message that the following period number are missing. Okay, so this means that we need to create the remaining 12 missing periods. Okay, so what we are going to do is, let me go back to the calendar form and quickly create the remaining 12 calendars. So next will be April 14. I'm going to quickly create all the calendar. Year will be 2014. The quarter will be 2 now. Period number will be 5. Date will be from 1st April to 30th April. Then May 14. Quarter will be 2. Period will be 6. 31st May 2014. Next will be June. Sorry, the period is still 2, rather the quarter is still 2, the period number is 7. June 2014, and then we need to create one more adjustment period, so it will be adjustment Q2. The period number will be still 2, or rather the quarter number will be 2, period number 8, and the date range will be the last date of the month of June, 30th June to 30th June. Again, we need to tick this checkbox, right? So we have created 8 of the 16 periods which we needed to do. Now let us quickly create the remaining one also. So July 14, quarter will be 3, period will be 9. I have made a mistake while creating this calendar, so let me make it as 2014. Then next will be August. Quarter will remain as 3, period number will be 10, date will be from 1st August to the 31st August. Then September, September 2014, and then we need to create one more adjustment period, adjustment for the quarter 3. So the date will be the last date of September, and this time let me take the adjusting period, and then let me go ahead and create the last quarter of this year. So it will be October 14, quarter number will be 4, then let me create the month of November. quarter number 4, period number 14, and then December. So the period number will be 15. And then let me create the last adjustment quarter, adjustment for the quarter 4. So the period number will be 16, and the period date will be the last date of the year and also the last date of the quarter. Let me take this and let me save this. Right, so we have created the complete fiscal year for 2014. Now let me close this form so that the system launches the validation request again. So I want to launch the validation request only for the current calendar, VWT calendar. So let me select calendar. Let me make a note of the request ID 5804581. And now let me go to the SRS form and monitor the output of that request. Hopefully it should complete successfully this time around, because we have created the calendar in a proper way. So we can see that this time around the request has not thrown any warning. So if we want to check the output of this request, we will see that all the validations which were there in this request have been passed. Like in this particular calendar, there is no period which has got date gaps, no period which are overlapping. There are no period numbers which have greater number of periods than what we have set up for the period type. No period numbers are missing, right? All the periods are sequentially ordered by the date. Then some validations are also being done with respect to the quarters, like the following quarters are missing, no quarters are missing, then all the quarters are in sequential order. And whether the period start or end dates are more than 1 year before or after its fiscal year, right? So since we have created a fiscal year only for 1 year, this validation has really not been done by the system. Okay, so we can see that whenever we create any calendar, most of the validations will be taken care of by Oracle itself. So if at all after we create the calendar and when the request for the validation is launched, it is always advisable to come and see the status of this request. And if at all the request is informing us that we have failed in any validation rule, then we need to correct the calendar, and then we need to revalidate the calendar. And once the validation is successful with respect to all the points, then only we can say that our calendar has been created successfully, right? So we are done with the creation of the calendar also, right?